Hi, my name is Liana Bdéwi. I'm an actor, voiceover artist, singer, and puppeteer. And today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 things you need to thrive during an entertainment industry slowdown. 1. Choose the path of least resistance and find your flow. So during an industry slowdown, it can feel really daunting. You know, it can feel really emotionally draining when there's not a lot of work coming in or there's no auditions that are really piquing any interest, and it can all be very overwhelming. And so what I find has worked for me, especially during the pandemic and even when I was first starting out, was to initially I had cast a really wide net. I had planted a lot of seeds with different companies and organizations, and I was trying my foot at everything. I was trying, film and TV and classical theater and musical theater, and nobody seemed to be responding. I was getting no callbacks and no interest from agents, and I just felt like it was an uphill battle that I was never going to win. And so at that point, I said, I need to pivot and I need to figure out where my flow is and what is the path of least resistance for me. So I took a voiceover class, and that kind of opened a lot of mental doors where I was like, this is something that I like. And the coaches seem to be responding to what my choices that I'm making and how I'm responding to the direction. And so I really chose to trust in that kind of moment and say, you know what, I think this is maybe right now the path of least resistance, and I'm going to follow that path, and I'm going to see where it takes me, how it's going to flow. And I'm so happy that I did, because it's gotten me where I am today, and I'm a full-time voice actor, which is crazy to say out loud. And I during an industry slowdown, having this kind of mentality of, I want to focus on being where I can be the best version of myself, where I can let my passion speak for me through my art. And it does take time. It takes time to find that flow. It takes time to really figure out what that path is. And as you grow as an artist, it's going to change. Like, things are going to move, things are going to shift. You just have to be open to allowing those changes to happen. The one thing that I'm very grateful for that I learned early on in my career is to not be rigid. You always have to be flexible and always have to be willing to shift and adapt as things change, because there's so many ebbs and flows in this industry, and they're so hard to predict that there's no point in fighting it. You just kind of have to go with it and inhale when needed and exhale when it's done. 2. Prioritize community and communication. A couple of years ago, I had some voice actor friends that were part of an accountability group, and they asked me if I would like to join. And I said yes, not knowing what I was walking into. And I'm so happy that I agreed to it, because we've had this group going on for a couple of years now, and I think we had started right around 2021. So it was right after the peak of the pandemic, and we were still kind of in the peak of the pandemic at that point too. And being a part of this accountability group is what helped keep morale up. It's what helped us stay involved in the community. So basically, an accountability group is just, you decide if you meet once a month, once a week, once every couple of months. You can decide as a group. And in our group in particular, we talk about our wins of the week, because we do it weekly, our obstacles that we faced, or any challenges or questions that we have, where we said, we had this job come through, how do we navigate certain situations, and then we talk about future projects and things we have coming up that we would like our team to keep us accountable for. So I'm very grateful for my accountability group. It's really helped during those slower times to make all of us feel less alone. Even if I look at this past summer, things were kind of slow in voiceover. It wasn't as full as I think we would like it to be. And I say we as in all of my colleagues. And when we would get on our calls every week, we would kind of talk how many auditions did you get? Or, what bookings did you have? And we were all kind of it's kind of slow. And we all collectively said, it's okay. Let's enjoy our summer, and things will happen when they're kind of meant to happen, and things will pick up as they always do. But it was so nice to feel this sense of camaraderie, and to, again, not feel like, oh my God, I'm going crazy, I'm not getting any work, where it's very much being felt by, your team that you meet with once a week. So that's a really, really great way to boost morale and to kind of stay afloat when things are a bit slow. Another great way is to support the community. Go to shows, go to events. There's meetups. Meetups are great, kind of like low risk, low, and also cost effective, because usually it's at a bar. You can buy a drink or not. You can just kind of go and hang out and talk to people. And it's such a great way to get to know the community, have them get to know you. And it always gets creative juices flowing. Once you're in a room with a bunch of creatives, something will always kind of emerge from that. And what a great time when things are slow to really kind of nurture that new potential project, because you have time to do it. 3, never stop learning. Whenever I feel like I'm stuck, I'm not really in my flow, or I feel like my ego is kind of getting in the way when I go on to do jobs, I take a class. I take a voiceover class, an improv class, an acting class, something to get me out of my head. However, it doesn't have to be something creative or, within your field. You could take any class, like a class at the gym, a carpentry class, a pottery class, just anything that you find interesting and will allow you to be vulnerable to learn. And when there's an industry slowdown, this is the best time to learn new skills and then also sharpen your old skills. Take a dance class or work with a different coach. If you're always kind of working with the same coaches and same teachers, it's great to kind of spice it up and try something different and kind of learn a different approach. Because I do believe that you always have something to learn and there's always somebody new that you can learn from. Another way to learn, and I'm a huge supporter of this, is going to conferences and going to events. It's such a great way to network. It's such a great way to meet people and to just kind of get to know your community. And kind of going back to kind of what we talked about in point 2 about community, learning also involves community, because usually in a class you're with other people unless you're doing a one-on-one. And again, it kind of builds this sense of camaraderie and friendship and builds a really, really strong network. And when things are slow and you kind of feel hopeless, taking a class will really lift your spirits and again might spark some new ideas. 4, be a human. As actors and as creatives, we can get so in our head with things that we have to do and not really give enough attention to the things that we want to do. Now, being in this industry, likely we want to be doing this, but there are so many things that we can do that are just outside of entertainment. Spend time with your family, have a vacation, do a staycation, have a picnic, go to the beach, something that's just so outside of work and the work, and just be a person, be a human, have real experiences, go and experience the world. During a slowdown, it's especially great to book travel. They also say when you book travel, that's when the work comes in. So do with that what you will. But I remember I had a coach that said to me, when you're so focused on coaching and learning, you're not really living. And in order to be a successful actor, in this case it was more for acting, you have to live. You have to go and experience things. You have to go and talk to people and ask yourself what stories do I want to tell? How do I want to tell it? Can I go to a coffee shop and just, sit and by a window and just watch people walk and think, what are their stories? What are they thinking of? These are kind of things that, and this was actually an exercise we had done in acting school, where we just had to observe. And observation is such a great creative fuel, because it allows us to take from reality. And I really think that allowing yourself to be a human allows for even deeper vulnerability. And if we don't have that vulnerability, we're not able to create beautiful, authentic art that we want to create. So take that time. And lastly, 5, protect your instrument. I feel like I have to say this for myself constantly because, when you're creative, when you're a performer especially, you love to push yourself to the limits. Your back kind of hurts, your body's kind of sore, you still go on and perform. Your voice is a bit crackly, maybe it's not in the best shape, you still go and you sing your heart out. And we do this over and over again, and that's what causes injury. And so when there's an industry slowdown, this is the best time to reset. And you have to keep yourself accountable to reset during that time, because you're not going to get it later. I mean, when it rains, it pours. And so when it's a little bit dry, that's the time when you take to kind of exhale and, do what you need to do in order to feel like you have a regular routine again. Get regular sleep, eat regularly, call your friends and family, meditate, journal, whatever having a regular schedule means to you, this is the time to do it, because preventative care is the best form of insurance that you have for yourself. It really only takes, one injury or, one overexertion, one burnout to really throw you off course. And sometimes it's kind of hard to avoid certain things. Accidents happen. But if you're able to allow for more rest and more preventative care, you are going to be so much safer in the long run, and you'll be able to have so much more longevity in your career. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much, Authority Magazine, for having me.